Look at how easy that was. Black people did not build America, and they do not deserve reparations. Thank you.
It never fails. Black people can be somewhere minding their own black-ass business, and some Neanderthalic, narcissistic, nauseating, nondescript, nefarious numbnut escapee from the Caucasus Mountains by way of ne'er-do-well will come along and try to bother our peace. So Casper the Friendly Ghost Hayden here decided to show us how easy it was to pick a whole bulb of cotton, knowing that his hyperallergenic to the sun ass would have stayed out there for more than 30 minutes, he would have been dead of skin cancer by the end of the year. See, Hayden, you made this video because you were laying at home and you realized that you were alone because 3 inches is not enough to get any job done that she needs done. Also, I wish your hyperallergenic to the sun, melon deficiated ancestors would have thought picking cotton or tobacco was just as easy as you tried to make it seem, because if they would have thought that, they would have tried to do it themselves, and then we wouldn't be sitting here now in the condition that this country is in with racial disparity, because all your ancestors would have already died out because of skin cancer. I said what I said, and you have the day your 3 inches brings you.
Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Child, when I tell you that the critical race theory is important, it's really important, and it's not just to the Americans alone, and it's not just to non-black people, but even people outside of America needs to understand the critical race theory, because people will come on this internet street and be spewing rubbish because they do not have an understanding of what the Black Americans had gone through, right? Coming on these internet streets and saying things like to pick cotton is easy, like you just picked 1 or 2 cottons and you thought, oh, this is easy, and you went ahead and was saying that Black Americans do not deserve to be given reparations, nor did they build America. They literally did all of those things. They deserve to be given every bit of reparation. You gave the Chinese people their reparations, so why are Black people not giving their reparations only? And this reparations is for Black Americans only. So those of you Africans out there that are thinking, oh, you're gonna get a bit of it, you're gonna get a bit of it from doing what exactly, right? It's about time America pays reparations to Black people. It's long overdue. It's really long overdue. And one thing that really baffles me, and is still baffling me, is that people will just come and say racist comments or say crazy stuff to Black people, because I feel at this point they're trying to rile up Black people so that Black people will come on this internet street and be reacting, or Black people will go out of place to do something that would later be tied to them as being violent or being crazy, right? Because I wouldn't just understand why someone would just record something like that, like you're mocking their sufferings, you're mocking what they had gone through, you know, to pick cottons, to walk on those plantations for hours under the scorching sun. To me, this is inhumane. Like, you know damn well what you were doing in that video was actually very wrong, right? So guys, what do you think? Because these things are really getting out of hand, right? Please drop your thoughts in the comments.
This is one of the most well-articulated pro-reparations arguments that I've ever heard.
On race. It's based on status. A Black person who comes here from Nigeria or Jamaica or Brazil, they're not owed a penny from America. They chose to come here. We are talking about the people who are freedmen, the descendants of people emancipated by this country. We still know those people, because you are one of those people. I am one of those people. A lot of those people here in the audience, I just told you I could break down my genealogy. My dear Nana was 101 when she died. My great-grandfather just died 3 weeks ago. He was 100. He remembers fighting alongside white veterans in World War II. He remembers coming back and seeing his white veterans get homes and lands and pensions, and the door being slammed in his face. And we are going to say that America that says liberty and justice for all, that's okay, get over it, keep it moving, but we have to here never forget for everyone else's tragedy. And as far as from where reparations will come, I need people to stop thinking it's going to come from their tax dollars. Look at all the trillions that America spends right now. We talk about inflation, the invisible tax. We got something called the PPP loans. Do we remember the PPP loans? America spent $6 trillion on PPP loans. You know what they just did? They canceled all of it. And we didn't even know. America gave the corporations, the banks alone, $29 trillion. You know what they did with that? They canceled all of it. So let's start acting as if America is as hamstrung by debt as they want to pretend.
This isn't that hard. Yeah.
Since it's so easy, let's actually present to you a couple of scenarios had you been born a black man in Alabama working that cotton plantation between the years 1820 and 1860. I also saw some people in your comment section saying free food and housing. That sounds like a great deal. So let's incorporate those things in as well. You may or may not get to start off your day with some breakfast, which would usually consist of cold cornbread or cornmeal mush, and then you have to get started. Since you're saying it's not that hard, an overseer is probably going to put you next to one of his fastest pickers, which the fastest pickers were spread out amongst the entire group in order to make sure a pace was set. The overseer would monitor who was not keeping up pace with the fastest pickers, and you receive lashings in order to speed up. Now remember, I saw you picking with one hand in the video. You need to be picking with two because you're responsible for both sides of your row. Now this document behind me is a data collection done by someone who visited small plantations, medium-sized, and large plantations. The amount of pounds each person picked. Now, as I mentioned before, you said it's not that hard, so you're going to be expected to keep up with the fastest picker. If you look here on the second row, you see this particular person picked 1,680 pounds that week, averaging between about 250 pounds a day. That's what you're going to need to meet. Even if your personal quota, which was usually set by the overseer, wasn't 250 pounds exactly, you're still expected to keep pace with the fastest pickers, which if you're looking at this list of a plantation of about 60 enslaved people, the fastest people were picking over 1,000 pounds a week. Should you not meet the quota that was set before you, you would receive lashings in order to pay back the debt in the amount of pounds you missed in your quota. Now, on top of doing this in the hot sun, barely having any clothes because most folks were either naked or had the last little bit of salvaged clothing from when they were originally purchased at a slave market and then transported to their new plantation. And lashings weren't saved just for people who didn't meet their quota. In fact, on many plantations, through documentation by overseers, the fastest pickers were actually the ones who were beat and tortured the most because it pushed productivity forward. Remember, between 1790 and 1860, cotton production went up 400% with a daily percentage rise of about 2%. That's an average. And this is before the invention of the cotton gin. Now, there's no lunch breaks, and don't you dare get distracted by the person having their back lashed to shreds next to you because you need to make sure you keep working should you end up getting the whip. Carrying a wicker basket with those several hundred pounds of cotton on your back. And on Sundays, which might be your off day, you'd probably have a white pastor come and preach to you, not the story of Moses and how God asked him to free his people from enslavement, because that might encourage resistance, and that might condition you to believe that what's happening to you is wrong. Instead, you would hear biblical passages that would reinforce the idea that you were inferior and what the white person was doing to you was actually just, and they were helping you become more civilized because you were cursed by Cain.
Over here picking cotton, bro.
It's so easy. I don't know why they complained about it.
I love how that black brother was trying to explain reparations, right? Because a lot of the Jamaicans, Nigerians, and other people, immigrants that came to this country, they came out of their own free will. They weren't coerced, they weren't forced, they weren't separated from their family members, right? But black Americans were bundled, snatched, kidnapped from the motherland and brought here against their will, walked and be lynched and be killed, even as far as they fought, just like he said, the Second World War alongside the Caucasians. Still, they weren't given their full benefits, right? Like, why would you go fight for a country? You died for a country, but the country does not still recognize you. And once black people come out and start saying all these things, people will start saying they talk too much, they complain too much. Excuses. These are not excuses. These are years of serial abuse, lynching, killing, and dehumanizing these people. They deserve every bit of reparation this world can give. America has the money, give them their reparations, right? So guys, I just don't get it why people think Americans are over exaggerating what they had gone through or what their ancestors had gone through, right? It's about time reparations are paid. If you could give it to the Chinese people, why are you stalling the payments of Black Americans, right? Give them their reparations. They deserve every bit of it, right? In this climate where things are tense up, where changes are happening, and with the advent of social media, of course, we are being shown the darker side of what America was trying to hide. A lot of these histories about what Black Americans had gone through are trying to be blotted out of, the school system, are trying to be blotted even out of the internet, right? And that's why I'm happy when people spring out these videos and are showing us what actually happened. Because if people don't see things like that, they will not really believe that these things really happened. So everybody needs to wake the hell up and understand that once we understand what these people had gone through, they deserve every respect and they deserve every reparation. So guys, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I still have some good videos for you to watch.
When white people in the United States balk at the idea of paying reparations to Black Americans who descended from slaves, they disagree with the Bible. Reparations are a form of compensation or restitution made to those who have suffered injustice, particularly those in cases of racial inequality, discrimination, and slavery. The idea of paying reparations to Black Americans is not a new one. It has been a topic of discussion for decades, if not centuries. However, it has gained renewed attention and support in recent years, following the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement and the growing recognition of systemic racism in American society. As a Christian, I believe that reparations are not only a matter of justice and equity, but also a reflection of God's character and values. In the Bible, we see numerous examples of God's concern for the oppressed, the marginalized, and the downtrodden. From the Israelites' liberation from slavery in Egypt to the ministry of Jesus among the poor and the outcast, we see a consistent theme of God's love for those who are on the margins of society. One of the key biblical principles that underlie the idea of reparations is the concept of restitution. In the book of Leviticus, we see God commanding the Israelites to make restitution to those whom they have wronged. Leviticus 6:1-5 says, "If anyone sins and commits a breach of faith against the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in a matter of deposit or security or through robbery, or if he has oppressed his neighbor or has found something lost and lied about it, swearing falsely in any of all the things that people do and sin thereby, if he has sinned and has realized his guilt and will restore what he took by robbery when he got it by oppression or deposit that was committed to him, or the lost thing that he found, or anything about which he has sworn falsely, he shall restore in full and shall add a fifth to it and give it to him to whom it belongs on the day that he realizes his guilt." This passage emphasizes the importance of making restitution to those who have been wronged, and not just restoring what was taken, but adding to it as a form of compensation. This principle of restitution can be applied to the issue of reparations to Black Americans who have suffered centuries of enslavement, discrimination, and systemic oppression. Another biblical principle that supports the idea of reparations is the concept of Jubilee. In Leviticus 25, God commands the Israelites to observe a Jubilee every 50th year, during which all debts are forgiven, all slaves to be set free, and all property to be returned to its original owners. This was a radical idea of economic justice designed to prevent the accumulation of wealth and power in the hands of a few, and to ensure that all members of society had equal access to resources and opportunities. The idea of Jubilee can be seen as a model for reparations in that it seeks to address the root causes of inequality and oppression rather than just treating the symptoms. By forgiving debts, freeing slaves, and returning property, Jubilee seeks to create a more just and equitable society, one in which everyone has the opportunity to flourish. As a Christian, I believe paying reparations to Black Americans is only a matter of justice and equity, but also it is a reflection of God's values and character. Through the biblical principles of restitution and Jubilee, we see a model for how we can address the historical and systemic injustices that have plagued our society for far too long. While the issue of reparations is complex and contentious, I believe that as Christians, we have a responsibility to seek justice.
Another thing I need to make very clear about reparations does not come from white people. It comes from the federal government. And maybe you don't want to get into it, but I'm also going to kill this other lie and myth. I don't care how many people think it's true. It's a lie. The federal government does not run off of tax dollars. It does not run off of tax dollars. The United States of America is a monetary sovereign. It can generate as much revenue as it needs to pay any bill that it has. State governments run off of taxes. The federal government does not. All the federal government has to do is get approved for credit by the Federal Reserve, and then the U.S. Treasury issues that credit. What has to happen is that America has to worry about inflation. But inflation is not necessarily about how much money is in the economy. It's about how much money goes into the economy at any given time. That's one. Number two, people like to talk about that. Do not let them scare you with talk about that. Here's a fact that they don't like to talk about. America has canceled trillions of dollars in debt before. So if debt is so important, if debt is holding America down, if debt is so dangerous, then I need people to explain how come America has canceled debt from several wars in the past. Right now, as we speak, America is canceling not billions, but trillions of dollars in debt from the PPP loans that companies are not having to pay back. America can cancel debt anytime it wants because the American economy is a fiat system. And a fiat system at the end of the day is just numbers on a computer that the American government can delete anytime it wants, and they do. And you want to know proof? They're deleting numbers right now. Number three, because I'm going to show all this.
Let's go. I wake up just a little bit. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the big guys. If you wanna play tough, you wanna dance, stand there, show up. I don't wanna be the worst. I don't ever see some truck, and I'm not I don't take shit. I need a change in my life, cause I know if you want, I got stuff that makes me happy. I'll always show me for a minute. I'm paying for my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm going on a trip and I don't plan to visit. I'm gonna stay there till I feel like I'm winning all. Just the beginning. I need a big change, how it feels like living. I need a big swing, hold on, I'm in, and I'll never look back. Moving on till I get it all. I can gas, think I'm okay and that, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness, hilarious. You think you're with my time, you're delirious, mysterious. Because you are behind the fake exterior, inferior. You know I'll always be a
Sometimes people will not understand the full magnitude of slavery, the full magnitude of what Black Americans had gone through. That's why it is good to dig and read. Read for yourself. The internet is free. You know, libraries are free. Although a lot of these libraries are trying to take out the critical race theory books, right? So that a lot of people will not go and look at the history of America, what they did to Black Americans, what they did to Black Americans ancestors, right? So it is important people go do their own research, right? And to think that people or the Caucasians are all over the place saying picking up curtains are easy. These people were literally walking in this scorching sun for like over 100 Fahrenheit, right? Barely wearing any clothes, barely wearing any shoes, barely even feeding. They were not even given enough water to drink. They were not even given the basic necessities of things to even give them the energy to walk those fields, right? And besides that, while they're still doing it, they were given outrageous quotas to reach. Apart from that, if you don't reach your quota, you get beaten. And even if you're the best picker, you still are being beaten. Like, you don't even understand the magnitude of what these people had gone through. The least you could do is to show respect, is to show gratitude, is to facilitate, or is to help, have them paid their reparations, have them giving their reparations back to them. But no, you want to just come on these internet streets and mock them, and now you're coming out on these internet streets spewing all kinds of crazy. So this is really crazy, because I feel at this point the Caucasians are trying to run away from what they actually did to the ancestor of Black Americans, and they are trying to bury it by making sure all those histories are completely blotted out of this world, so that people will not understand the heinous crimes they had committed to the Black Americans. So guys, these things are just crazy. People just come on these internet streets and just be saying all kinds of things that they do not understand. And to me, mostly is to mock the sufferings of the ancestors of Black Americans. So guys, what do you think? Please drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you have come this far in this video, please hit on the subscribe button, because a lot of you do come to watch but you do not subscribe. Please, if you want a content like this, hit on the subscribe button, hit on the like button, hit on the share button, and always come back for more. See you in the next one. Have a blessed day.